Let's see if I can get my connection. Hello, everyone. I know you're planning to join me, so hi, good evening. I have really thought for a week or so now that I needed to pop on here and share some thoughts. And I know my teaser post said I was going to encourage everyone, which maybe I will. I hope I will. But, you know, truly and honestly, I don't feel like I'm in a good place to encourage anyone right now. So I'm kind of talking to myself too, because I've been pondering how to get through this struggle bus and get off the struggle bus, and thinking about the past couple of years and what's working and what's not working for me and other people that I know. And so that's why I'm here. Hi, Patty. I am here to talk to myself and share it with you and see if anything that I think will help me will help you, if that makes sense. Basically, I know when we're struggling and things are difficult, we think, oh, I should trust in God and all will be well, which is entirely true. But if your brain is mixed up and if you're just, like I said, on the struggle bus, I hate using that term over and over, but it's really hard just to do that. It's not really simple to implement, especially as moms. We're so busy and I'm hearing from moms that we're overwhelmed and weary and unmotivated and exhausted, which is not unexpected because that happens in being a mom, in motherhood, right? We have a lot of responsibilities. And as homeschooling moms, we have even more responsibilities. Our job is exponentially bigger. And so I'm just hearing a lot right now that everybody is feeling it and feeling the struggle and feeling the overwhelm. And I know it's not just me, because I feel like over the past 15 years of homeschooling, I've got a decent handle on keeping myself from getting overwhelmed and stuck in the homeschooling part. And I know that right now, things outside of homeschooling for me are totally crazy. And my usual tactics are only working to a certain degree, and then I'm just having to lean into the hard. So that's why I wanted to jump on and talk to you guys, whether you're watching this live or you watch it later. I think especially as homeschool moms, we are looking for solutions to our problems. We are used to finding what's going to work best and what's going to fix whatever is wrong. And right now, and especially with homeschooling, there's so many options to fixing what's not working that that's overwhelming in itself, right? What do we change? And backing up, where is the problem to begin with? What if we can't even get started to figure out what's bugging us? What is not going well? So usually in homeschooling circles, if you've been around a bit, February is burnout month. We kind of have October is burnout month light, and where the novelty of the new school year wears off and we're all like, we got to do the hard work now. And February is burnout severe, where it's like, whoa, I'm quitting. This is not going to happen for another year. It's kind of like the joy of January fades. I mean, usually the holidays rejuvenate us. We get a fresh start in January. We're kind of motivated. And January goes okay for most mamas. But then we hit February and it's dreary and monotonous. Nobody wants to do school. And to add to our frustration, we're already thinking about next school year if we're doing an academic year where, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep doing this? And what changes do I need to make? And we're kind of go down that spiral in February. And so February, I've given talks and I've written posts on overcoming burnout, and I have lots of specific tips on how to do that. I've taken courses to learn more about how other women experience and recover from burnout, specifically as women, as homeschoolers. But some of those tips won't work with what I'm seeing right now. I'm hearing from moms that we're struggling now, and maybe we've even been struggling for a couple years, and we just kind of get distracted from our struggle for short periods of time, and like the holidays, when times are really busy or times are really fun, we aren't really thinking about it. And then when things settle down and we're into the day-to-day routine again, like now, we're back on the struggle bus. We're back on the what's going on. And, you know, we all know the world is challenging more than it used to be 3 years ago. We have COVID, we have politics, we have division in the church, families are struggling, and it's kind of adding this extra angst. And we want a solution to all of those problems, which we have very little control over. And I'm hearing some of us blame it on homeschooling. And maybe even if we're not blaming it on homeschooling, we're like, well, this is the thing I can control and I can fix, and so I'm going to work on making this better, which is great if you're able to find the strategies that work for you, but can also be more challenging if that's not really the root of things, like I said earlier. So it seems to me from talking to moms in the past couple of weeks that homeschooling, the effort of homeschooling, which takes a huge amount of time and work and energy each day, is kind of our tipping point. It is the hardest thing most of us do. And I don't make a secret of the fact that homeschooling is crazy hard work. It is a full-time job, and it requires a lot of sacrifices, right? We are taking charge of preparing our children for their futures, whatever that might be, and their entire education and their entire future weighs on our shoulders. Am I terrifying you? Because it is. It's a terrifying thought, right? That we have that huge responsibility. But, of course, it's a huge blessing as well, and a great honor and privilege to be able to walk with our kids. And it's super important to prepare our kids for God's will for their lives. And if homeschooling is something that we feel called to do, that we feel this is the path God wants for our family, then it's our duty to do that, right? And with everything that's going on, I hear that many of us are struggling with, like, what's the point anyway? Like, this is just, you know, the world is such a mess. Whether it's a conscious thought or a subconscious thought, we kind of can have that attitude like, you know, why is subtraction so important when, you know, the house is falling? But the point is that this is our duty to prepare our children for the rest of their lives, and more importantly for heaven. And regardless of what's happening around us, that's still our primary goal. I have a dear friend, I hope she watches this, that over 2 years ago, really, when things were just really messy, she's like, I am keeping my head down. I am doing what I'm called to do. I'm fulfilling my vocation today because there's too much uncertainty around me. And that is a beautiful testimony to following God's will, for fulfilling the vocation that we're called to. So where am I going with all of this? Well, the good news is if you're feeling all of this, homeschooling burnout strategies can totally help most of us. There's lots of ideas. There's ideas within this Facebook group and outside this Facebook group, and we'll talk about those in the next few weeks. In fact, this week I'm going to pull some of those old posts up and add new ideas and bump those threads so that we can really be sorting through some of the suggestions. It's fair to say, though, the bad news is that some of us are truly in a place of trauma or suffering or stress that we need more help than a Facebook group that is going to help us change our daily schedule or pick a new curriculum. This has been a really challenging time for so many people, and if you need additional help, if you really feel like changing a small part of your day is not going to do it, please seek outside help. This is not the place. We're not group therapy. We just do our best as moms to help one another to make improvements when we need to, right? And Teresa, you have a great question I'm going to talk about. What about burnout for the kids? The bad news about what's going on right now in our families and our church and our world is that most of the things that I'm hearing are causing moms the most stress, as moms, most of us have no control over that and can't even change any of that. Like, it just kind of hangs around like this fog. Now, we can choose to limit our social media, cultivate our feeds, turn off the news, and exclude some of that. But the reality is we have to just keep going through the fog to get out of it. And snapping out of that kind of funk, that fog, is, you know, people say these catchphrases to begin again and do the next right thing and those kinds of things. And those are supposed to motivate us. And they can. And sometimes they do. But I would guess, and I've experienced, that more practical strategies are really needed to change our mindset. We can spend times lamenting what's going on and that things aren't the way we want them to be in this way or another. But we all know that worldly solutions are not going to satisfy our hearts, right? God is the only thing, the only person, the only being, the only influence that can really help. Only God can satisfy the angst in our hearts. Scripture tells us to be not afraid. That was John Paul II's motto, his theme. Padre Pio says, pray, hope, and don't worry. So I think it's worth noting that women worry about all these things, whether it's outside our homes or inside our home school. We are worrying about that child who can't learn to read, or we are learning about that teenager who's struggling with his faith, or we are worrying about our husband's job, or the world at large, or COVID, or whatever it is. We worry because we love, and as women, we're so emotionally connected to the people around us that love comes out as that anxiety, right? And so one thing that helps me tremendously when I'm worried about this or that, and I'll focus here on homeschooling, but like I said, I feel like this is bigger than homeschooling for a lot of moms that are asking for help. So I want to stress that it goes outside of just homeschooling. But the worry that we have over what's happening with our children's education is because of love. But our love really needs to take a different form, right? It needs to be actions, love in action, and love in attitudes. That can redirect our worry. It's this mental shift we're never going to master because we're weak and emotional women. No, I'm kidding. I don't think we will ever be perfect in this life, right? And all these things. And worry is something that a lot of us struggle with. But we should strive for redirecting that love for others, right? And so my two first tips that are the most important things are prayer and love. I know, you're like, oh, but that's just so like, feel good, happy, like words that I can't actually put into action. But I'm super serious. Anytime that I have struggled with burnout, anytime that I felt like my house is just full of angst and the kids don't want to do it and I don't want to do it, or even if I do want to do it and the kids don't want to do it, or they want to do it and I don't want to do it, any of that. Mom, you got to pray. You have to connect with just you and God, separate from your family rosary, separately from whatever you do with your kids or your husband. You need to find a way to connect with Jesus on a daily basis. It might just be talking to him while you're doing the dishes or folding laundry in your head. It might just be that morning offering before you climb out of bed. It might be small right now. And, we all dream of this waking up and hours before our kids get up and having this quiet time with the Lord, which is great if you can do that in your season. But all I'm talking about is finding small ways that we can connect with God, right? Because only he can satisfy that angst in our heart over the worry we have over our homeschooling and our husband and our grandparent, our parents and grandparents and those things. So we have to do that, okay? Prayer has to be a part of coming out of burnout, of helping the household run better. Then love. Again, sounds nice, Jenny. What do you mean? Back to the worry turning into love, which needs actions and attitude, okay? So your words, the things you do, for me, it's my eyes and my face. I'm not a natural smile at my kids, but if I can change the tone and the expression that I have and can communicate love to them, oh gosh, they respond so much better. We know that, right? It's just not natural for some of us. So love your kids. Figure out when they are struggling what it is they need. And sometimes love means discipline and love means, structure, but always done in a loving way. So connect with your kids and connect with your husband and be loving in your manner. And those two things are what I fall back to when I'm struggling big time. Because if I do those two things and I do nothing else, then I'm good, right? If I pray and I love, that's my vocation. But beyond that, of course, we could continue to add strategies and talk. Like I said, we'll talk about a lot of strategies soon. But I'll just give you a few right now for those who are like, okay, I think I can handle the prayer and love thing. You're right. That's a priority. I'm going to do that. But I need to keep going with it, right? Make it more than just a mental shift. So one is, I said this to a friend yesterday, hope she's listening, we need serotonin. Okay, if we are in a blah, or if our kids are in a blah, we need to spark joy. We need to find ways, to use the bodies that God gave us in the way He made them to improve our mood. You can Google how to get serotonin, right? But smile, laugh, get exercise, get sunshine. I know it's dreary and cold some places and it's winter, but there are things that we can do. There's even foods we can eat. You can look into all those things. We need to help our bodies get those good hormones flowing, right? And for me, sometimes all it is just smiling more or watching silly YouTube videos with my kids about cats or bunnies or whatever. I mean, seriously, little simple things that change the mood because our biology is wired to do that. So that's one thing. Figure out how to do that. Selena's got a great idea. Favorite thing to do after prayer is serve someone who is suffering or needing more than yourself. Yes. Deliver a meal, bake for the kids, clean out a space, donate what's not needed. Those are all putting that prayer and love into action, right? That's like taking it further than just in me and taking it outside of myself. That's what our goal here is, to say, okay, I could work on my own mental shift, but until I actually take an action to demonstrate that I'm working on that shift, it's not going to have an impact on anybody around me. Okay, so get yourself some happy thoughts, get yourself some joy, release that. The second priority is to be consistent, to do it anyway. Whether you are making changes to get out of your funk or not, whether you're just looking at tomorrow and going, I don't want to do any of this, do it anyway. If it's the stuff that you know you should be doing, I'm not talking about, the stuff that we're like, ugh, why did I make that decision? Inevitably for me, I end up not being consistent with whatever it is I need to do, whether that's math or the laundry or whatever, and then that spirals me backwards and I'm just stumbling again because I'm feeling bad about not getting that stuff done, and then it's further into the burnout because I'm teaching my kids that they don't have to do the things they don't want to do, and I'm teaching myself that I have complete control over this and I can make these decisions that are not good for myself or my kids. So figure out what you need to do. If you've got to make changes, pick something and do it. Like I said at the beginning, there's way too many choices out there right now. Homeschooling has just exploded, right? We have so many options of curriculum. Our scheduling can be whatever we want it to be. We can join co-ops and classes and extracurriculars and hybrids and all these different things, which all have pros and cons. Every curriculum has its pros and cons. There's nothing perfect out there that you're going to find. But just pick something that you can do tomorrow, right? And just do that. Whether you need to switch or you need to just simplify or you need to just do what you know you should do. If you're not sure, you can ask your husband or a trusted friend, a homeschooling consultant. Some curriculum providers provide that. We have consultants. But just figure out what you think you should be doing. Discern that and do it. Don't question it, like for 2 weeks at least, because it's the consistency of doing the things that we should do and praying and loving and sparking joy that's going to make the long-term changes. Okay? And I've said this before, but for those of you that are new, if your child is melting down or you are melting down, don't keep doing that thing. Come up with a solution for that. Figure out a way to do that that's different or modified, because that will burn out the kids. That will make them miserable and never want to do it. Personal story, I had a kid come to me today and say, this is too much reading, Mom. I don't want to do all this. It is a lot. And I looked at what the reading was, and really it was too much for this child at this stage. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Let's adapt that a little bit and rearrange things so that you're not doing so much in one day. And let's find an audiobook for one of these things so that we can cut that out altogether and make that easier on you. So I listened to that struggle, and, there were pencils thrown first, not by me. And we rectified that situation with a conversation, right? So don't keep doing the thing that's causing serious problems. But for the most part, figure out what you can do that's consistent. And those are my big tips for tonight. That's like, I'm not going to go into like, I have a whole post of 10 different things you can do. Well, one of them is pray. But pray, love, find joy, and be consistent. If you can do just pray and love, start with that. If you feel like, yeah, I'm not doing awful in those areas, then find joy and be consistent. And see if that helps you and your children to climb out of some of this. Because we really do need to kind of put blinders on sometimes and just say, okay, I cannot control this or this. There's a lot of stuff going on that I'm just going to have to put to the back of my mind right now. And I'm going to have to look at my children and look at their faces and smile at them and help them with whatever it is that they need right now to grow as people, to grow spiritually, to grow academically, to make progress in whatever way right now you feel they need. And you need to trust that feeling because God gave you these children, not somebody else. We also, right, we second guess ourselves a lot. We're like, well, I don't know. This might be the right thing. All we got to do is trust ourselves, trust God, and try to do that next thing that's needed, right? Okay, so we are going to bump all the burnout threads early because we all need them. I need them too. And we can pick and choose those strategies that we think are going to work for us. You cannot make a complete shift in everything in one day or 1 week or 1 month. So baby step your way, and I'll put up a post about that as well. I just wanted to pop on tonight and just make sure that you guys know that, yeah, this is hard. Homeschooling is hard anyway. It's been hard for 15 years. I can't ever say it wasn't hard, and it probably will always be hard. But I'm definitely hearing from everybody that the hard of the world, the hard of homeschooling is heavier right now. And so many more people are homeschooling that just kind of compounds the hard and the heavy, even for those of us who've been doing it forever, right? Because we know we're like, oh, now homeschooling is a thing, and I've been doing this, but am I doing it right? Or now all these new options, and we second guess. So I hear you. I hear that this is a time of struggle, and that's okay. It is okay to struggle. It means God is calling us to grow, as painful as that might be. I have one of my homeschooling mentors, when I first started homeschooling, when they had a really hard day, she called it a character building day, right? Because that really hard day was an opportunity to grow in virtue, like lots of opportunities to grow in virtue throughout the day for kids and mom. But let's work together to encourage one another, share tips with one another, share what worked for us in the past and what we're working on right now, so that we can kind of walk through this fog and funk together and climb out of it. Maybe even somewhere in February, we could be like, we're not going to have February burnout because we're going to face it head on right now, right? Okay, thanks for watching. Good to see a few of you pop in, and hopefully others of you will get to watch this later so I don't go on and on forever. I'm going to throw this up on my YouTube channel too tomorrow because I know people that are not on Facebook will want to see it or not in our group. But I hope that in the next little while that you can take some time to pray, to connect with the Lord and figure out what it is that He needs you to do to feel better, right? To feel like this is a worthy day, that today was not a disaster, and then the next one and the next one. God bless you all. I will be praying for you too. Good night.